I think we can jump to where we in the list about science coming back
after his free practice 3 crash on Saturday. Yes. Sainz had a massive shot into the wall, and the only thing is he finished P7 behind Alonso. Sainz redeemed himself beautifully after that crash. He was lucky not to have had gearbox or drive shaft damage like Leclerc back at Monaco, where he couldn't start the race even. But Sainz has unfortunately had a tendency recently to crash and practice on qualifying, and every time he still redeems himself in the race, and to me that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think Ferrari won't be as mad to him because he is still getting used to the car.
Yeah,
and for me, that with him crashing and crashing and spinning or whatever, that just shows he is pushing the limits of what he can control for that car. And with that's even with driving the Formula 1 cars, you're still on the knife edge of spinning or making a corner.
Yes, or making a mistake.
And it's hard to stay on that knife edge consistently. So I'm super glad with him making mistakes, and he proves himself. Yeah, it was a mistake, but this is my pace. I'm still worthy of keeping the seats.
And I mean, we've talked about it a lot, Booster, and I know you said that Sainz still needs to work on his quali pace compared to Charles, but Sainz, every race weekend, he's a bit closer. And let's be honest, Leclerc's got 1 podium, Sainz has got 2. Sainz got 2nd in Monaco, and he got 3rd place in Hungary. Leclerc got 2nd in Silverstone. Now, I'm not downgrading Leclerc's performances because I think Leclerc is still ahead in the drivers. I can't completely remember, but I know they're close. Sainz is doing everything he possibly can to run with Charles Leclerc, and we all know Charles Leclerc is in that same bracket of George Russell, Max Verstappen. He's in that same bracket. And I've asked you before, I've asked you and Janco in the past, can we classify Norris in that area? And you guys have said yes. And now the new question is, can we classify Sainz in that area? And I think it's a yes. Sainz is in a new team, getting used to a lot of stuff. I think personally he is used to the car, but now he's starting to push the limits. He's really starting to do what Leclerc does. He's starting to go to the outer edges of what that car can do, because they know if they are caught sleeping, they're not getting P3 in the constructors. That will go to McLaren.
I think after these couple races, I think Ferrari are pushing them to fight. They are being pushed to their very limits, and this is the consequences of they're gonna be mistakes. And it's at least good it was in practice, so they're at least smart enough to push the limits in times where it's safe to do so. Yes. I don't want to say they're not pushing as hard in the race, but I think there's in the practice times where he crashed, he was pushing harder.
Yes, no, most definitely. And I mean, Sainz crashed in qualifying at Hungary, and then he crashed in practice in the Netherlands. And when we get to the Italian Grand Prix podcast, he crashed in he crashed also in FP3. No, he crashed in FP2. Excuse me. He crashed on Friday. Friday. At the Ascari chicane. But like you said, I agree with you on the fact that let him make mistakes. Okay, it's going to cost you a bit of money with a budget cap, but let him make mistakes. Let him find that edge that he needs. Because like I said, when Sainz signed for Ferrari last year, I was honestly really worried for Carlos. I thought that was a very terrible career choice. But seeing how he turned up this year, I think if you put Sainz back in that McLaren, he's going to outperform Norris and Ricciardo. He has gained so much in this half a season at Ferrari. It's been phenomenal to see. Sainz has really gone up a level, in my opinion.
Yeah, I believe he has moved up with his experience, and I think it's really showing through. And I believe it was actually necessary for him to go to Ferrari, because he was getting too comfortable at McLaren.
Yes.
Because at McLaren he was very close with Norris.
Yes.
And now it's like, okay, it's a slower car, and handles way different, and it shows his adaptability.
Yes. And he's got Charles Leclerc as a teammate.
And it just shows me he's very determined, and he's worthy for staying at Ferrari.
Oh yes, most definitely. Ferrari have already signed Sainz, which I'm so grateful for. The only seat left now is the final seat at Alfa Romeo, which is fought between Giovinazzi, Guan Yu Zhou, Oscar Piastri, and Theo Pourchaire, which I honestly think that seat's going to go to either Zhou or Piastri, but we'll have to see. But I mean, Sainz is staying at Ferrari. You've got Perez staying at Red Bull. We've had the fantastic news that George Russell is going to Mercedes to partner with Lewis Hamilton. I honestly can't wait for that. You've got Ricciardo and Norris staying at McLaren. You've got Gasly and Tsunoda staying at AlphaTauri, Vettel and Stroll at Aston Martin. Bottas going to Alfa Romeo, still waiting to see who his partner is going to be. You've got Alexander Albon coming back to Formula 1 after a very successful season thus far in DTM, driving for AlphaTauri Ferrari. That feels so weird to say. Partnering Nicholas Latifi, and then Haas are sticking with Mazepin and Schumacher. So it's not as much of a silly season as last year when it comes to the driver ratings, but I wouldn't say it has not been satisfying. I think that move with Bottas and Russell was like, oh yeah. Here we go. Let's go, boy!
I think it was long due.
Long overdue, yes. You are completely correct with that.
While we're talking about Sainz, I'm seeing here, let's talk about his teammate Leclerc, who was also catching, while Sainz was passed by Alonso. Leclerc was catching Gasly for P4.
Yes. Now, what I wrote here is I honestly hope that Leclerc would catch Gasly and battle for P4. Obviously, I've got a bloody big weak spot for Pierre Gasly. I love the guy. But obviously, I'm a Ferrari fan. I just would have wanted to see a battle.
That would be a great battle.
Yes. Leclerc didn't catch Gasly in time, but I mean, Gasly drove an absolutely phenomenal race. He was literally in the middle of nowhere, behind the front three and miles ahead of the rest of the pack, and he's just like, okay, I'm chilling in P4, let's just get the full 12 points. And at the end, Gasly did go for an early pit stop, and at the end of the race his tyres did start dying off. I think Leclerc pitted something like 10 laps after Gasly, so when Gasly's tyres were going off, they went off. They were dead. But Gasly drove so well that the gap was just sufficient enough so that Charles couldn't mount an attack. But still, P5, brilliant P5 from Charles Leclerc. I mean, Ferrari have really come alive at these high downforce tracks, Monaco, Hungary, Zandvoort, and it's good to see. Ferrari obviously still need to work on their straight line speed. They're still doing a lot of development on the engine. I don't know if you saw the rumors that from the Russian Grand Prix they are bringing 3 massive engine upgrades to try and be on par with Honda and Mercedes. Ferrari have basically completely redeveloped that engine after the whole problems with their power advantage back in 2019. And Mattia Binotto. Now, also one thing before I mention the rumors, one thing I need to mention to all you guys listening to the podcast: our rumors are not 100% confirmed. Rumors stay rumors, so take every rumor that we talk about on the podcast with a pinch of salt. Just so you guys also know that. I had to mention that. But the rumors are that Ferrari have figured out the problem with their engine, why they are not on par, and the 3 upgrades they are bringing are going to rectify this. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to jump for joy if they finally get to the front of the grid again at the end of the season, because my heart, when it comes to Formula 1, my heart pumps green, white and red for the Italian flag. I love Ferrari, but I honestly hope that these upgrades do make a difference, because it's not just going to make a difference in their battle with McLaren for the constructors. I mean, McLaren have got the best engine on the grid now in the back of their car. And if Ferrari can get that performance back that they can match Mercedes and Honda, I think we're going to have a juicy battle for P3 come the end of the year. And I think with that, because of the engine freeze, which also, this is a confirmed fact, the engine regulation change has moved from the end of 2024 to the end of 2025. So we're only going to see new engines in Formula 1 in 2026. I'm going to be turning 27 years old that year. Bloody hell, I'm old. We are old. You're going to be turning 26. I'm going to be turning 27. But that's been moved back a year. And if Ferrari can figure out this engine before the end of the year when the engines freeze, Ferrari look good with these new regulations coming.
Yeah, and I think if the upgrades are there, that will be, if everything rolls out and plays how they think it or hope it will be, that will be a massive spanner in the works for the championship battle. I guarantee you, if it works, it will be a spanner in the works for Hamilton and Verstappen.
Yeah, because like I said, Ferrari are already good at high downforce tracks. They just lacking power, and if all of a sudden the car's there, I mean, it's going to be very interesting. Now that is what I hope, but obviously that's probably false hope, but we will have to see. But Ferrari have confirmed that they are bringing engine upgrades. The rumor is just how many engine upgrades and how much horsepower they're going to gain. But the point is, they are working on this engine, and Ferrari have said themselves, Mattia Bonotto has said, that they are satisfied with this year's chassis and aerodynamics. They want to work on the engine before the engine freeze. So let's see what Ferrari does the rest of the season, and let's head into our final 6 topics. I think these are going to go quick. So Boosted, Norris had a very troublesome weekend, falling out in Q2, yet making a decent recovery to P10. McLaren, their car just didn't suit Zandvoort. It was weird to see McLaren battling for lower points and sometimes not even for the points.
Yeah, it was very odd, but like you said, the car didn't like Zandvoort.
No, not at all.
I think that it was just a very bad weekend for them, and I think it was more a learning weekend.
Yes.
And I think it was disappointing for them, but I think they're old enough to face reality head on, and I know, like the Monza race, they recovered very good.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that in the Italian GP Car podcast.
And just like you said, yeah, Norris had a bad weekend. Ricciardo was still...
He was performing very disappointingly.
He
qualified, I think it was P6, and Norris, who fell out in Q2, stuck in traffic the whole race, still finished ahead of him.
Yeah, and
in the points, Ricciardo fell out.
Yeah, and it was just... Ricciardo drove off pace, he didn't drive. And Norris, I think, also had bad luck with the two Williams crashing in the end of Q2.
Yeah, there was a bit of bad luck there.
I think if that bad luck wasn't there, he would not have been so off pace. But Ricciardo, he was just like he's been most of the season, just struggling with the car, and I know a lot of people like Ricciardo. He is a very nice guy, but
he is a very likable.
You him because he's...
And, obviously, we know what happened at the Italian Grand Prix, and we will talk about that in the next podcast. But stopping at Zandvoort, Rick's summer break prediction was... honestly, I'm glad Ricciardo hasn't left, because decisions, and Ricciardo needs stability like he had with Red Bull. And the thing is, Red Bull, they prioritized Max, and Ricciardo felt left out like Bottas feels left out at Mercedes. That's why he left. Ricciardo felt left out. But Renault, in my opinion, wasn't a good choice. Who are now Alpine. But McLaren, to me, are a very good choice. They've made it clear. Ricciardo has seen this as the same as Norris. Even though Norris is Zach Brown's little golden boy, Ricciardo, they are equal drivers. And McLaren's goal is to get back to the front of the field. They want to be championship contenders. And if you look at that lineup, if Ricciardo can figure out what the hell he needs to do to get back to being the old daddy Rick, you've got Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo as a pairing. That's going to be a very good Constructors' Championship fighting scenario. I mean, we talked about it before. Alonso and Ocon's a fantastic pairing. Leclerc and Sainz is a fantastic pairing. You've now got Russell and Hamilton going to be a pairing, which is going to be very powerful. Ricciardo and Norris, I'll put them in that mix. I will most definitely put them in that mix.
Yeah, really think if it's not this year, hopefully everyone is gonna be on the same page next year.
Oh yes, sir.
Everyone's gonna have to adapt to the new car that's way more useless.
Well, it's got a lot less downforce. The car's going to be a lot more understeery and oversteery. A lot less draggy, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be more. I'm not sure. I don't know about the car. I'm just hoping, if not this year, Ricciardo picks up and stays consistent, because I know there were some races where yes, he got good points, but the next races he's like, okay, I'm not racing anymore, just driving around.
Yeah.
He just needs that consistency, because yes, he doesn't need to be where Norris is. He just, for Ricciardo, for him, he needs just to finish consistently in points.
Yes. No, that's a definite fact, Booster.
And
just one final thing I want to mention about Ricciardo is just, Ricciardo has always, he adapted supremely quickly to the Renault when he moved from Red Bull to Renault. And even when he moved from Toro Rosso to Red Bull, the adaptation process was quick. And obviously I understand back then Red Bull had Renault engines before they switched to Honda. But still, I didn't expect Ricciardo to take this long to adapt to that McLaren. But we'll see what happens the rest of the season. But hopefully Danny Rick pulls his finger out of his buttocks and he can actually start going. Now, moving into the topics about Mercedes. Mercedes had no answer for Verstappen this weekend.
yeah,
And one thing I quickly want to touch on before we head into Hamilton's frustration, Perez could have made Mercedes' work a lot tougher if he was there. But Red Bull had, once again, this classic Mercedes v Verstappen weekend where Verstappen was really close to be passed by Hamilton when the first pit stops commenced. But luckily Max was able to hold back both the Mercedes. Getting past Bottas, holding Hamilton back while overtaking the second Mercedes. He was able to deal with them very well. But once again, Red Bull, in the form of Perez, missed out on an exceptional opportunity to gain points on Mercedes, because the Red Bull was the quicker car this weekend, full stop.
Yeah, it was quicker, but that this is just showing why Red Bull had in the previous years shuffled so many drivers around, or dropped them everything, because Max is doing everything on his own. And I can promise you it's so frustrating. I know the driver feels guilty, but how the teams can only take so much, because if the Perez is not there, it's gonna cost them.
Yes.
And with it being a ruthless sports, if you're not winning, you're losing.
Yes, unfortunately.
But still, Perez is like, for me, like Ricciardo. Some weekends they are driving fantastic, because Imola, Perez out-qualified Max.
Yes.
So we know he's good, but
he's got the talent and the capability
he
to
just
match Max.
needs to learn how to set up the car for himself, how to get everything out of the car. That's the one thing Max can do consistently, because he's been driving the car for how long.
That's what I want to actually add on to you. Red Bull have dropped all these drivers recently. If they, obviously we talked about, yes, the sport is ruthless, and it really is a ruthless sport, But if they've just given a driver, for instance, like Pierre Gasly, instead of just half a season, give him 2 seasons. Red Bull, if they gave him 2 seasons, it's still before 2021. It would have been till the end of 2020. After 2 seasons, if your driver still is performing like absolute crap, yes, drop him. But give your drivers enough time to not just learn the car, learn the new team, learn the staff, learn how to set up the car. There's so much that goes into Formula One, and you as an individual driver, despite the team, give the drivers enough time to show you what they can actually do. And that is what Red Bull didn't give Albon and Gasly. That is why they couldn't match Max. How do you expect them to match probably the quickest guy on the grid with 6 months and 1 season? And they were both rookies. They were not in Max's shoes, who has driven in Formula One since 2015. That's the difference for me. Give your drivers a proper opportunity to show you that they can get there. Some drivers just need more time than others. It's like us in school. Some people are good at maths, other people are crap at maths. The people that are crap at maths need a few extra classes to get to the people who are good. You need to give them time to work. You need to give them time to do their homework.
I think this is why it's very good why Perez was signed for next year. And it gives the team that time to see what he's offering, and it gives Perez time to show them and pick his socks up to prove he is worth signing. And that will just be have to be seen. We can't predict the future, but so far he's still a bit struggling, and it's really showing. And I think we know Perez is the driver. He will find a way.
No, that's definitely true, Boosted. So yeah, I think we've basically covered the Perez topic now. Let's be honest. Going into the Lewis topic, Hamilton's frustration was very clear in that race. Lewis came on the team radio multiple times complaining to the team, wrong strategy, wrong tires, we can't do this, we can't do that. And the thing is, to me, is, like I said, the final topic is, let's smash the 2 final topics together. Verstappen was mostly, for the most part of that race, Verstappen was untouchable. And Lewis, instead, look, one thing that I still absolutely hate about Lewis Hamilton is he constantly complains when things doesn't go his way. Yes, you're in the heat of the moment, you should complain, but freaking hell, just keep driving, something can happen. Lewis has the tendency to complain. If it's not about the tires, it's about the car. If it's not about the car, it's about the strategy. If it's not about the strategy, it's freaking hell, I don't know, his teammates not backing him up. Lewis was the Dutch Grand Prix, the smoke from the fans. Yeah. Always complaining the car's not quick enough. Who the hell's problem is that? You're already in the race. You can't stop the race halfway. Okay, Mercedes, quickly, let's throw on about 10 upgrades to the car. Okay, restart the race and kick Max's ass. You can't do that. Stop complaining, focus on your driving, and just get stuck in. And if you lose, oh well, next weekend.
Yeah,
I don't know. Lewis has the tendency to complain too much, and that is what frustrates me the most about Hamilton. That's why I can't support the guy, because he complains about everything.
Yeah, he was complaining too much, and with his complaining, that's what makes me angry, because he says him and the Mercedes are such a good family, whatever what they're calling, what he's calling it this week. While he's in a race, he's going against everything the team is giving him.
Yeah, he's going against everything that he says they stand for.
And that's irritating, because the team is trying to give all the solutions, even in the race. I promise you, if they could swap the engine in a 2-second pit stop, they would have.
Yes.
That just is, he's putting the blame on other people.
Yeah, and not looking at himself. Sometimes Lewis is just not on pace with Max, and that's the fact.
If you look at Max, I can guarantee you, with this Dutch GP, the team says, okay, Max, go out on practice, set up the car how fast as possibly you can do, and we'll help you make it as fast as possible.
Yeah, we'll do our part, you do yours.
And for me, Hamilton is not doing that.
Yeah, look, we can't see what goes on behind the scenes, unfortunately. I think that would be a very dramatic thing to view. But as far as we are concerned, we just feel Lewis isn't bringing as much of a part as necessarily everybody says he is. But we don't have any proof of that. But I do agree with you, Boost, that it feels like Hamilton just expects everything from the team now, and he can sit back and relax and just drive what he does best. He can just drive. And he sets up the car, and okay, now you guys, now it's your responsibility, and I just don't like that. But in any case, yeah, that is just my gripe with Hamilton. And I mean, is there anything more to say about Max being untouchable at the Dutch Grand Prix?
He just sets up the car brilliantly, and I think he wanted to prove to to Hamilton, he is in a championship fight.
Yes.
And unlike Hamilton's home race where Max was crushed out, Max wanted to make sure, in my own home race, I will win you.
Yeah, in my backyard, I will beat you. Yeah,
and
most definitely.
That was just very good. I think we have to go into our group's driver rating.
Yes, guys, so that has been the topics for this Dutch Grand Prix. Now let's head into the driver ratings. Boosted, you've got the two harsh drivers.
Okay, for Mazepin and Schumacher, Mazepin got 3 out of 10. It was he
DNF'd, and he had a good pace at the beginning. I can remember the beginning of the race, they showed him and Schumi battling a bit, and Schumi battling with Latifi. That was very fun to see, by the way. So they actually had screen time. But after that, the horse is slow. It's got to fall back. So Mazepin had good pace, but I mean, you can't give him really much more.
And Schumacher got a 4 out of 10 just because he finished
He finished P15, I think. P15. No, he finished lower. He finished P18, 3 laps behind.
Yeah. And that was just, both of them did what they normally would have done.
Yeah, they placed where they usually would place.
So
yeah, there's not very much to say. Heading in towards the two Williams drivers, Latifi got a 4 out of 10, and George Russell a 3 out of 10. Once again, just a thing. Latifi made Q2 for the first time since it wasn't Imola. Where did Latifi make Q2? I think it was Portimao in Portugal, if I'm not mistaken. I'm talking under correction there, but it's the first time he's made Q2 since the start of the season, and unfortunately both of them crashed in Q2. Latifi had the worst one, but once again Williams showed, we've got quali pace, and then comes the race, it's just like there's no race pace. So unfortunate weekend for Williams. So Latifi gets a 4 out of 10 and Russell a 3 out of 10. Boosted, you've got the one Alfa Romeo, because, guys, just a quick mention, we're not going to rate Robert Kubica. He's literally going to drive for 2 weekends, so there's no point in rating him and putting him into our ratings competition. So we're just going to give Kimi a 0, and Boosted, you can tell us what Giovinazzi got.
Giovinazzi got a 6 out of 10. He drove very good.
Qualified in Q3. And obviously the Alfa Romeo is not the best car, struggled in the race, but still had a decent race.
Yeah, he did good. I think we can move on to Stroll and Vettel.
Yeah, the two Aston Martins. So we gave both Vettel and Stroll a 4 out of 10. Very mediocre race. Vettel with his mistake and Stroll just being nowhere. So they had the opportunity for points, but they couldn't capitalize on it. So not much for Aston Martin. They both get a 4 out of 10. Boost, you've got the two Alpines.
Well, it was a really good weekend for the Alpine. Ocon got a 6 out of 10, and Alonso driving very brilliantly against Sainz got it 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, the Alpine to me isn't a top 5 car. I would give that to the AlphaTauri after Ferrari and McLaren. But Alonso is just managing to get that car into the points consistently, like high points. I mean, he got P6 behind Leclerc and Gasly. So good weekend from Alonso. Heading in towards the two AlphaTauris, Sonoda DNF'd out of the race, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just quickly double check that. Yes, Yuki Tsunoda DNF P19. Yuki, once again, not really a good qualifying, so Yuki gets a 3 out of 10. And Gasly, however, with his 4th place, gets a 10 out of 10. Well done to Pierre Gasly. Boosted, you've got the 2 McLarens.
Ricardo got a 5 out of 10. Still, he did a good qualifying, but
Yes.
bad race pace, and Norris bad luck in qualifying too, and he recovered.
Yeah, to
in
gain
the
one
race.
singular point. Not too bad of a weekend from Norris. Hey guys, it's Turbo here. Sorry, the recording with the Ferrari driver ratings was a bit wonky, so I'm quickly going to tell you guys, Sainz got a 7 out of 10 for his brilliant battle with Fernando, and Leclerc a 9 out of 10 for his finish in P5. Just a solid race from Charles. Was a good weekend for Ferrari. Oh yeah. Boosted, you've got the 2 Mercedes.
Bottas got a 6 out of 10. He was just where he normally is.
He just played around in P3. There wasn't really not much you can do. The only to hold up Max Lewis
against team orders, going for the fastest lap.
When he set the fastest lap, he was playing around. But I honestly think he just went against team orders because that was just weird.
I remember the commentator said he was actually slowing down in the second sector. But either or, Hamilton got a 7 out of 10. He just couldn't keep up with Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
And if we rated how many times he complained, he would have got a 20 out of 10. But we didn't.
Yeah, complaining does not get you any points here in the Motorsport Lounge. And then finally the 2 Red Bulls. Perez had a decent recovery, good race. Perez gets an 8 out of 10, and obviously the man of the hour, to win his home Grand Prix, Max Verstappen, Max, Super Max. He gets the crown on his points. He gets an 11 out of 10. Now, Boosted, quickly run us through the standings after round 11 for the teams championship that we have.
After the round 11, Haas 82 points in 10th place. 9th place of Alfa Romeo with 123 points, very close to Williams in 8th place with 125 points. 7th place Aston Martin with 139 points. In 6th place with 142 points is Mercedes. In 5th place, just 1 point ahead of Mercedes is AlphaTauri with 143 points. In 4th place, I think maybe increasing the lead, depending on the weekends. 4th place Alpine 149 points. McLaren just holding on to 3rd place for now with 166 points. Ferrari trying its best to close up to Red Bull in 2nd place with 177 points, and Red Bull just 3 points ahead at 180 points.
So guys, remember, this is not the actual Constructors' Championship. We read that at the beginning of this podcast. This is now when we gave the drivers their ratings, and the 2 ratings get plussed together, and then we put it for the team's points, just like in Formula 1. And remember, we didn't do any ratings for Belgium, so this is now the points standings after the Dutch Grand Prix after round 13. So the standings after round 13, you've got Haas in P10 on 89 points. Alfa Romeo are still occupying P9 on 129 points. Williams are on P8 on 132 points. Actually, still very close between Alfa Romeo and Williams. Aston Martin are still in P7 on 147 points. Mercedes still P6 on 155, still just 1 point behind AlphaTauri on 156 points in P5. P4 is Alpine, actually starting to get quite kind of close to the leaders, but struggling to stretch away from AlphaTauri and Mercedes. Alpine P4 on 163 points. McLaren losing out a bit with this weekend's bad performances. Well, just the car not having race pace. Still in P3 on 178 points. And Red Bull extend their lead by 3 points, while Ferrari are sitting on 193 points in P2 and Red Bull on 199 points in P1, 1 singular point away from 200. Now, heading into our 2021 Dutch Grand Prix predictions. I had a terrible weekend, so Boosted, why don't you read me and Jonny's predictions, and I'll do Jadepie and Janco.
Okay, you predicted Russell points, Ferrari podium and Ricardo top 5, which did not happen.
Yeah, I got a fat round 0. And then Jonny?
Jonny said Lando Norris podium, you bad luck. That closed Ricardo top 7 and Russell qualifying top 8. He was very optimistic after the Belgian Grand Prix.
Yes, so Jonny also got 0. Heading in towards Jadepie, she said Verstappen top 5, which obviously Verstappen had a dominant victory. Ferrari top 10, and she would have gotten 16 if there wasn't the two Williams crashing in Q3, because she said as a third prediction, Norris top 10 quali, which didn't happen for the first time this season.
Top 10 in race.
Yes, then she would have gotten 16. Janco said, so Jadepie got 10 points, by the way. Janco said Hamilton top 5, Alonso top 10, and here's bold, this is bold, Russell top 6.
That was bold.
Yes, so he got 10 points because Russell unfortunately did not get a top 6. Boosted, you read us your and Melanie's predictions.
I predicted Max wins, which I did. Russell top 10, didn't happen.
Nope.
And Perez top 6. He was 2 places away.
Yeah, he's finished P8.
And Melanie also predicted Max wins. Ferrari top 5 and Bottas crashes.
So she got Max P1 and Ferrari top 5. She got 10 points, but she was very optimistic to think Bottas would crash again. But yeah, and guys, unfortunately we didn't receive any predictions from Jess and Demi, so they will unfortunately also be getting 0 for this this round of predictions. That's just a bit busy for them. But in any case, so guys, we also remember at the end of the previous podcast we said that we're going to do summer break predictions. Now the only way you can get your 10 points for actually guessing a summer break happening, to get your 10 points, it has to happen within the summer break. So Boosted, you can have the first 4 people and I'll take the bottom 4 people, but basically nobody scored points because either the things didn't happen or it happened after the summer break.
You predicted Haas drops Mazepin, which didn't happen. I predicted Raikkonen announces retirement, which he did afterwards. Ricardo leaves McLaren, that didn't happen.
That was Johnny's prediction.
Johnny's prediction. And Janco predicted Russell moves to Mercedes, which happened, but 2 weeks.
2 weeks later, they announced it.
2 weeks.
No, they announced it just before Italy, didn't they?
Yeah.
Or was it before Dutch GP? That was after the Dutch GP.
It was after the Dutch GP.
Okay, so yeah, sorry guys, you didn't get your predictions correct, but it should have happened within the summer break. Then Jadepie said Bottas stays with Mercedes. That is just wrong, unfortunately. Jess also said, like myself, Mazepin loses F1 seat. Melanie said Russell stays with Williams, which didn't happen, thank goodness. And Demi said a driver tests positive for COVID, which once again happened with Kimi, but not in the summer break.
2 weeks later.
Yes, so unfortunately nobody got 10 points for their summer break predictions, guys. But it was our first shot. We'll see what happens next season. Now, Boosted, the Team Motorsport Lounge Predictions Championship. Please read us the standings after round 11.
Okay, in 8th place is Jadepie with 40 points. 7th place is Janco with 46 points. Tied in 5th place is me and Jess with 55 points. 3rd place is you and Jonny with 60 points. Melanie in 2nd with 66 and Demi ahead with 71 points.
Okay, now the standings after round 13, the Dutch Grand Prix. Guys, also our predictions for Belgium were not counted because we didn't have a race. So those predictions were thrown in the bin. The standings after round 13, Jadepie is still in 8th place on 50 points, with Jess now occupying P7 on 55 points. Janco is in P6 on 56 points. Then a 3-way tie for P3 between myself, Boosted, and Jonny on 60 points. Demi is still in P2 on 71 points.
She dropped to P2.
Oh, sorry, she dropped to P2 on 71 points. And Melanie is now once again in the lead for the second time this season on 76 points. Now, for the final thing for this podcast, guys, the part that I actually enjoyed the most, our predictions for the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. Boosted, you can read the first 4 and I'll read the last 4.
Okay, you predicted Ferrari top 5 I can't remember if that happened.
Now we'll see what
we'll
they
talk about it later. But
podcast.
you talked about Ferrari top 5 sprint race crash, Mercedes top 3. Janco predicted a Red Bull podium sprint race crash. He stole that from you. And Russell top 8.
That sprint race crash. Janco gave that prediction first, and I honestly forgot that he said it. So I actually stole that from him, but I forgot that he said that. So yeah. So but in any case, we can use the same predictions. So it's not a law. So the Demi and Jadepie.
Demi predicted driver announcements Thursday, Friday, or Saturday or Sunday.
So she means that a driver announced leaving a team or going to another team or retirement or something.
Stroll top 10 finish and McLaren double points.
And then finally Jadepie.
Jadepie Verstappen podium. Quali crash was the second, and Red Bull retakes Constructors Championship lead.
Okay. Now Jess said... now... Guys, Jess sent this in. We obviously already know what happened with the Italian Grand Prix. But she sent this to me the Sunday evening after the Dutch Grand Prix. And she said a McLaren wins. Jess needs to do more bold predictions because she... I love that. Then she said Latifi points and Hamilton finishes second. Jonny said Lando top 5, Ricciardo top 7. I just really need to show these guys how to spell Ricciardo's surname. And then he said Max extends his lead. Boosted, you said a main race front wing change. Russell off pace in the sprint race. And no first corner crash. And finally, Melanie said a total of 3 DNFs. She's going very specific there. If she said 3 DNFs or more, that would have been a safer bet, but still, leaving it there. Verstappen podium and a Ferrari top 5. So guys, that is the predictions for the 2021 Italian Grand Prix, and that is the podcast that we are going to do next. But guys, that has been this podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening or watching, whichever one you did. Thank you for staying till the end. Boosted, is there a certain thing that our viewers should do before they go away? It's a certain thumbs up button.
Yeah, I noticed when I click the thumbs up button just below the video, it goes blue.
Yes, and it's a schnacksy blue. It's a schmacksy blue.
It's a sexy blue. And I can't, there's also a red button. I always...
What's that red button's name again?
Subflag? And always when somebody says don't press the red button,
yes,
you press the red button.
Yeah, obviously, even if it says the world will end, you're like, I need to press the red button.
So smash that subscribe button.
Yes, and don't forget to click the bell to turn your notifications on. I mean, Boosted, come on, let's see. We've got podcasts, we've got Wreckfest, we've got Need for Speed Heat, we've got 3 things in the F1 game. And guys, just by the way, I've got a surprise coming pretty soon. So you want to ding that bell to make sure your notifications are turned on. And before you click off the video, guys, make sure to go check out the links in the description down below. Second YouTube channel, iiTzAssassins Gaming, which is actually doing really well. We hit 25 subscribers just yesterday. Nice. So guys, go check out iiTzAssassins Gaming. It's a non-racing channel. A lot of fun, and you can laugh at me getting scared playing other games. And then also check out Falcon Gaming South Africa, my South African gaming clan. Those guys would highly appreciate it. All their social medias are linked down below, as well as follow me on social media and I'll follow you back. Guys, thank you for watching. Boosted, your final thoughts before we say goodbye?
I'm blank. I'm blank.
My final thoughts is I can't wait for next year, especially the Hamilton-Russell battle at Mercedes. But heading towards the next Grand Prix in Russia, hopefully, just like we said with France, hopefully it's just not a boring race. And actually, I hope Bottas wins.
He's gonna win. That's the only track he wins.
But guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been a blast. We'll see you guys on the next podcast for the Italian Grand Prix. Boosted, say your goodbyes.
Cheers.
Guys, I love you guys, and I'll see you all next video. Cheers!